So thanks everyone for joining. I've got a guest today, Alen Ganic. He's a senior Lean Six Sigma coach. Alan, thanks for coming to the show. If you could give us a little introduction and background on your process improvement journey, it'd be great.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. So, as you have mentioned, my name is Alen Ganic. My background is in regards to Lean. I've been practicing Lean for 24 years. The way I started on my Lean journey was actually in the late 90s, but I really started practicing Lean in 2000 while working for one big international company that was losing a lot of money at that time in a small city in Michigan. And we were introduced to options. Either they move the business somewhere else to another country, or we learned lean manufacturing in 2 years and we transformed that organization within those 2 years into lean manufacturing. Of course, many of us didn't have another job, so we said we want to transform. And me being me, I like always to learn and continuously improve, get better in whatever I do. So I volunteered to be part of that transformation team. So at that time, I was a production supervisor. And second shift, I would come in every day for 4 hours, which was paid. That was good. And I would spend years, close to 2 years, working those odd hours where I come in the morning, work with the team, with senseis, learning the tools and applying those tools on the floor. That's how I learned Lean, how to apply all the Lean tools. Back then, there was no Gamma Academy or an organization as such, as far as I remember. Those were individuals who worked for Toyota Production System, senseis who would come to organizations and teach us Lean on the floor. After that, I had a lot of success, not just in that company. I left that company, went somewhere else, and got really promoted up to a plant manager, ops manager position with that organization by applying Lean tools and helping that organization. After that, somebody reached out to me to work for the city of Grand Rapids, which is the local government, which I first said, why would I work for government? I like Lean. I like applying Lean daily, and government, I don't think I had much in common with Lean at that time. But what the reason I really accepted that role is because that individual who worked at that time for the mayor told me that they are reaching out to me because I have Lean experience. And the mayor at that time, George Hartwell, went to a conference and heard about Lean and how Lean can be applied anywhere, including government. And he assigned his deputy manager, Eric DeLong, to explore this and to bring Lean to City Grand Rapids. When I heard that, I said, oh, that's good. I talked to my wife and I said, this would be good for me to see if I can introduce Lean to government.
Were
To
you
make the long
living in
story,
Grand Rapids at that
yes, I
time? Or
was.
oh, you were, okay.
Yes, I was. And so I left manufacturing to work for government. I even took a pay cut, to be honest with you. I took a pay cut because I love the challenge. So they didn't have a lean manager. They didn't even know what that was at that time, but they gave me a position to run, to be in charge of operations for parking services, all the parking ramps and lots, and security teams. So I had two departments reporting to me at that time. And then I started slowly implementing lean philosophy in parking. For example, one of the biggest struggles they had when I joined them, they could not find enough seasonal employees to staff the booths during the seasons. And the season usually starts from the fall, winter, obviously for the holidays, and it would end up kind of in the summer. The season would end. People go to the beach and stuff like that. People don't come to downtown much. And one of the struggles they had, they were very disorganized. Only certain people knew how to run certain booths. That's something that I did during my root cause analysis. To make the long story short, we 5-fast all the booths. I trained the staff, and we were able to 5-fast smallest booth and make it work so we could replicate that same setup of the equipment, ticket dispenser, ticket processing device, fee computer, which is a register, it's called just fee computer, and all that stuff. And then we replicated, including brooms and dustbins. Everything had a place, everything was in a place in a small booth, and we replicated. After that, every employee joining parking services was able to run any booth. There was no more excuses. I never ran that booth. I don't know how to run it. So we can't immediately 50+% we no longer needed to have on our payroll. So they had like between 89 to 100 some employees. We cut that in half because now everybody can do um, the run the fee computer and run a booth. And then after that, I have done many different projects. But then what the city recognized, well, after they saw some savings, especially my boss, Pam Ritzma, she was a very intelligent lady, and she got promoted to lead several departments. So she was like leading, she was a director, managing director for several departments in the city. And that's when we kind of made agreement. I worked 50% of the time running a business, like a real business operation. And then the other 50% of time I would be spending on lean projects, going to these departments that she was overseeing. And then wherever she had the biggest bottleneck or issue or problem to solve, I would address those. I would go out there, train, develop people, and work with the people on finding a solution. So they saw great benefit in that as well. So my job basically, then they created a position for me, inventory and asset manager, because one of the biggest projects they had is consolidating warehouses and selling buildings to the private sector to use for private business, and consolidating inventory into a one warehouse, like 2, 3 departments into one warehouse. And I love that idea. And that's kind of the idea that led. And just that project alone in one department was had a saving $500,000 plus on an annual basis. Instead of spending 1.9 or 2 million per year on buying inventory, we had actually more business than ever before, but we reduced 500,000 plus on an annual basis in spending because we improved our material management. We had a material management system. We created a distribution center. We involved vendor management system, like with Fastenal company, for example, where we had now same product across the city and we didn't own anything until it was purchased. So there's no obsolescence that we were using yearly. Just an example, eye wash, that has expiration date. And if you stock it yourself, you don't use it, it ends up in a trash can. Now we had a vendor management system in place where we don't care about that. We only pay on a monthly basis for the whole city, just a one invoice instead of bunch of invoices. So just to give you some idea, some of the improvements, we did spaghetti diagrams, look at how our internal customers come into a stock room to get the parts, and we saw how complicated it was. So they would spend half hour to an hour to get our parts and then go out to do the business, fix the roads or fix the pipes in the ground. So we streamlined that, working with the teams. They told us how to build the product families. When they pick up a meter to replace, they're sending parts that go along with it. So we put everything in line so they can get in and out between 5 to 15 minutes compared to 30 to an hour. So that is another a good win for the city. Consolidating building was another important fact. So that's kind of in the government sector a little bit, just to give you, because I did span with government 14 and a half years and worked on many projects. And actually, I'm writing a book right now because there are so many books on lean manufacturing. Some people now writing on healthcare, which is good. And now I'm writing about government. There are not many books about how to apply lean in government. And I, now that I have so many years of experience serving our country for 14 and a half years, I want to spread that knowledge with that specific group of people. After that, I did move on back to manufacturing. Even while I was working for government, it was not challenging enough, to be honest with you. I'm a lean guy. I always like to be on the go, learn, improve, experiment. So I made a deal with the city. Hey, I'm going to take some vacation or unpaid time if I need to go and work on for a consulting firm on a part-time basis, and that's what I did. So I went back into manufacturing, worked on part-time basis on projects that I liked for the manufacturing, and then after that, I decided after 14 and a half years that I really want to go back to manufacturing, and I did go for 2 years back to manufacturing. Loved it. Traveled the United States. Was a regional CI manager, last position I held in that company. Had 4 different states that I would visit every other week, and was very exciting. And then the last job, the job that I'm in right now, I'm with Gamba Academy. Um, and I'm going to give you an idea. I wasn't looking for a job, to be honest with you. I was not looking for a job, looking to switch career at this time. I loved my previous job. Didn't like the traveling that much, to be honest, but the job in general, I loved it because every week I had challenges and I had opportunity to develop people, develop content, which I love to do, developing and developing others. Um, But Gamba Academy did reach out to me. There was an opening. One of my friends started his own business. And the only reason why he left Gamba Academy because he's a business owner now in the city of Grand Rapids. And I wish him nothing but well. And that opening was presented to me. That opportunity was presented to me for Gamba Academy. Why I joined Gamba Academy? When I was working for City of Grand Rapids, Nancy Meyer, who's no longer with us, she passed away, a great lady. She was part of our transformation team in City of Grand Rapids when we met with city manager, with a deputy manager, my manager, CFO, and others. She was reporting at that time, I believe, to the deputy manager. And one of her tasks was to, because I could not produce fast enough content to train everybody in the city. There were other people that going through a lean journey that we were sending them to get certification, and went through the certification as well. I was her coach during that time, and she was while she was getting her certification, her assignment was to find a company in the United States that kind of can give us some training material. And we had picked 3 companies. Out of those 3 companies, we really love Gamba Academy. They had back then DVDs. This is back in the day. And they started having online, for the first time online, some of the videos, which was pretty cool. Other companies only had DVDs at that time. And then Gamba was a little bit more advanced. And the quality of their content is what attracted us as well. They had very good quality content. It was brief, 5 to 15 minutes. And I was able to incorporate into my PowerPoint presentations when I was presenting to the people, developing staff at City of Grand Rapids, and they had quizzes. So I didn't have to go create quizzes, any of that. So it was really easy for me to utilize that tool. So I fell along with Gamba Academy. For those of you that are Gamba Academy customer, there are videos out there that show my work at City of Grand Rapids, warehouse, how do I conduct my huddle meetings in the morning, MDI, managing for data improvement boards, how we use A3 document to solve many problems and to run many projects. One of the projects I would, besides this distribution center, was how to replace all lead service pipelines in the city of Grand Rapids, which is a 20 to 25-year project. I hope till today they use it, but for 2 years, when I was teaching, coaching them, and we making revisions and changes to that A3, they started that project, and that was the main document that was presented to the leadership and city commissioners and others. That A3, where we as leaders were sitting down and updating on a monthly basis, including the attorney that was representing City of Grand Rapids. So that's a little bit about me. And then the last thing I want to mention is was for a couple of years director for Michigan Lean Consortium. That is one of the well-known lean consortiums in Michigan. They run these educational events, conferences, and so on. So I had the opportunity, and I was blessed to be the director a couple of times for that organization. The only reason I left them is because I moved to Texas. About close to 3 years ago, I moved to Texas, so I had to stop. It was very difficult for me to be a director here and manage something because I couldn't be close to the Gamba. I left them. And the other thing, the last thing I want to mention about my biography is I had a dream. And Steve Keen, who worked at that time for Gamba Academy, and Frank Coronado, who was in HR, they helped me out, bring my dream to life. And that was to start the first conference for government employees, a lean conference for government employees. And that was in 2017. Lean Government Forum, and there are some clips and stuff on YouTube. So I was able to start and bring federal, state, and local together. We had about 40 participants at our first ever conference. After that, I found out that people love it. The problem I had with the conference, we end up having a profit of $2,500, something like that. So city in general, government, just for those of you that are not familiar with how government works, government cannot make profit. So that's why that was a problem. What do we do with 2,500? So they told me, oh, we got to get rid of 2,500 because we can't make profit. So can you find a nonprofit organization that deals with lean that could benefit from it? And that's how I kind of got in touch with MLC, Michigan Lean Consortium. And I said, hey, would you take this as a donation? And I would like to continue with this because we're doing a plus and delta. We found out from our audience and participants, they would love to continue with this. I mean, state, counties, local and federal government and state government, they like that. They said, Lean, yeah, we can spread this through our organizations as well. This makes sense. I remember Stephen Capley, mayor of City of Kentwood. He came to that conference as well, and he loved it. He had his people go through all my conferences after that, come to our any educational events that we had, and so MLC agreed on it. They said, "Oh, let's partner." So MLC did all the registration, and I had my own team at the city. We expanded because now these conferences started growing. We got up to 100 some people. I remember the last conference I held before I left the city of Grand Rapids, I think it was 110, 115. Don't quote me, but it was well over 100 people. And we had in City Hall on several floors because so many people, we had to use all the conferences. And then after that, we partnered with the Grand Valley University because we kept growing. We didn't have that room anymore. Until today, MLC is still having these annual conferences in Michigan. So that's my biography, and sorry for taking this long.
No, that's great. That's great. Um, you mentioned the government forum. So that was just a one-time conference that you had in Michigan and geared towards Michigan governments, government agencies.
Uh, that was the first one, not the last
Yeah.
one.
Okay.
We changed the name since we partnered with Michigan Link Consortium. We had a partnership, MLC and City Grand Rapids. Now we had two logos
Yeah.
and they ran the show. So till today, now it's only MLC and Grand Valley
Okay.
because
I
City
see.
Grand Rapids stepped out. After I left, they stepped out, and now Grand Valley and MLC are continuing with that conference. And now what we did after we learned something, we wanted to create a network. You know how you do something and you see there's room for improvement. So having just a government people come to conference, I didn't see very beneficial because they can't network and talk about projects. So what I proposed to MLC, I said, let's do government, have 4 branches. And I was at that time I was leading the events team. So I was in charge of that events team for MLC. Let's have government, let's have healthcare in that conference. Let's have manufacturing in that conference as well, and nonprofits. So we advertised to all those agencies, and then we started having people from nonprofits, people run charity organizations, Salvation Army, something like that, or people come, obviously, government, manufacturing we had, and healthcare. So now we enable those people who have some experience in running projects to present to people. This is how we applied lean in the healthcare. This is how we applied lean in manufacturing, government, and nonprofit. And that's why I think it's still growing, and it's still a good conference because we now have 4 different. And why I'm mentioning that, it's very important to share ideas and network. One of the things we did, we start expanding the time during the lunchtime to giving to our attendees to be able to network, to meet with somebody else. For example, government employee meets with manufacturing or healthcare. A nonprofit meets with government and so on, and they meet, and then we start building that network in the state of Michigan. I did have one time I was called to present at the state level conference. Rick Snyder, the governor of Michigan at that time, he reached out to the mayor, and mayor reached out to me and said, "Hey, Alan, would you go to the state level and at state capitol present how we apply lean in the city of Grand Rapids?" Because the governor was interested in that. So I did have that pleasure and opportunity to go and present on that level as well, where I broadened my network. And so today I have many friends now from state of Michigan. And the cool thing about state of Michigan, they have a department for CI. So those of you that don't know, state of Michigan has a department, CI department, and many CI practitioners who constantly develop people and constantly work on the projects. And the city of Detroit as well has a CI department, which is really cool to hear and know that we have government now creating CI positions and they see benefit in it.
When you go into a new area, what is your approach? You talked about learning from other consultants where they were teaching kind of at the Gemba, right? There
Mhm.
probably not a lot of, I imagine, classroom training. It was more hands-on
Mhm.
application. Is that how you've approached it? And especially at Grand Rapids, just kind of jump in, get
Yeah.
engaged, and then kind of teach as you go, coach as you are progressing through your A3s and things like that. Is that your approach?
Yes. So that's a great question. I like that question, especially for those folks that work for government right now. Government typically, when they have meetings and decision makings, it's happening either behind closed doors in somebody's office or in a conference room. So this was a little bit challenging for them. So when they asked me to work on a project like A3 or developing people on 5S, seeing waste and so on, they thought I could do everything in the conference room, or we had it called City University. It was at the police department, one floor. It's called City University. It had a bunch of classrooms and where we go and teach and develop the staff at that time. So I said, we need to do this at Gamba. So I didn't know what the Gamba really was. They kind of knew, but didn't really know. So I started saying, if you want to see success, I start challenging the leaders. Do you want this problem to be resolved? Oh, yes, definitely. All right. So you can go to city commission meetings and to the residents of City Grand Rapids and brag about it when we're done with it. Oh, that would be awesome, Ellen. Okay, good. Then let me do it my way. I said, whatever it takes. So what I did, I says, everything that I teach has to be done at the Gamba, at the actual place of work. So, for example, forestry team, they were able to cut half a tree a day, half a tree, because those ash trees are huge trees. And if you Google, you'll find out. And it was their problem. They said, we don't cut enough. And hiring contractors costs like 3-4 times more than when we pay our staff. So we need to find out become more efficient so we can cut more trees. And with the staff that we have, with the equipment we have, without adding any additional capital to it. So I said, okay, great. Where is the forestry department? So they're down at the market. Their trucks are parked in the garage, and that's where they have meetings and trucks. So I start teaching them Gamba. I kid you not. And you can find on YouTube, there's a YouTube. I can send you, if you want later, a clip of me teaching. And I had a City Grand Rapids trash can, my projector, and we had a white background on one of those trucks. And Ron is in that video. You can see Ron Pereira. You can see the owner of the managing director for Gamba Academy. I was projecting him. I was running, and you can see how I used Gamba Academy to teach that staff at that time. People loved me for that. They said, man, you connect with us. You are on the ground. You from the office, you from City Hall. You came here to teach us in our environment. So they fell in love with Lean. So I was teaching them only one of the problems they wanted to solve as a team. I said, what problem do you want to solve? They told me what it is. I said, then I'm going to teach you these lean tools. And we're going to apply them towards this problem that you're trying to solve. Is their trucks, they had 6 trucks at that time. None of them are organized. Every truck had somebody's name. That's John's, that's Jane's, and so on. And they all were mixed matched. And then you go out on the field and you find out that you don't have any chains. You have to go back, drive half hour and a half hour back. I mean, there was so much waste. So to make the long story short, I taught them how to 5S a truck as a team. And one of the things first they said, we don't have tools. Management does not want to put budget. They want to buy anything. To make the long story short, after they went with me through this whole exercise training and exercise of 5Sing, they only bought one tool. And that tool was something like a long pipe to hold the line up in the air while you're trimming the tree. One tool. None of the tools were purchased. We had abandons where we red tagged and gave to other departments or sent it to an auction, believe it or not. So they had a pile of tools that they got rid of. They said, we'll never use this. So I said, remember when you told me management was a problem? You're blaming management. Management said, we can't increase the budget. We don't have the funds. And you guys were fighting. In the end, it was your disorganization. All you needed is a 5S. And so that's kind of the idea. So teaching at a Gamba. Then when I went with them out in the field, I had to go to Gamba, and it was freezing cold. I was not prepared. They were laughing at me. I don't handle, and that's why one of the reasons I moved to Texas. I love heat. I don't handle cold very well. And I was out there, they're trimming trees. There's lots of snow, blowing wind. You can imagine if you're from the north part of the country, you know how that is. And I was observing them, what they do, and doing like a stand in a circle, like Tichi Ono stand in a circle. I stood in one spot and was just observing. And then we met back in the garage and I showed them. I had a recording and we had the stand in a circle form. And I said, this is the waste. When you had to go get your Bobcat, you parked like the 2 blocks down. The guy had to walk slowly through the snow, get in the truck, bring the trailer and the Bobcat, go get the hook it up, something else, which is down the street. I said, disorganized. So we need to bring closer at the point, it's called point of use. So when you need a Bobcat or attachment, all your attachments are lined up and you can just go and get off the trailer, not go to this trailer, to down the street trailer. So there was a lot of waste that they had. Just to make the long story short, those folks in a short period of time, after just 5S and seeing waste, those two the things that they learned, they improved a lot. They 5S every truck. They 5S the garage. And that video that you're going to see, if you're going to watch it, you'll see what they're talking about. And we did a celebration at the end. I brought the department's director. I brought from the city hall upper leadership at that time to celebrate and give them certificates, and them to show off what they have done with the warehouse, with the crib, and with their trucks, and how from half a tree they've gone up to 1.5. I think at that time they were able to cut same amount of people, same amount of equipment.
Yeah, very neat. There's been a lot of discussions right now with government efficiency, and I believe, and I'm sure you believe too, like there's short, quick things people can do, but the best way is improving by doing exactly what you're saying, is going in, understanding the work, helping people be more efficient with their time, remove frustration and waste, and not just come in and say, we're going to cut heads and
Mhm.
we'll just do things slower. Curious what you've been thinking and hearing lately, the politics recently about government efficiency, at least at the national level, and if
On
you've had
federal
any
level.
thoughts or ideas, yeah, on that.
Yeah, actually, that's the one of the reasons I'm writing a book, because
Yeah.
I can't look at the inefficiency. One thing I would say for sure, people are not the issue. People always blame people. Oh, government people are lazy. They don't do much. We waste our taxes. No, people are good. They're not developed. Like City of Grand Rapids, they had a great staff. Nobody out of these events got fired. That's another deal I made with the leadership. I told them, first time you eliminate the position because of lean improvement, Alen Ganic, I'm done. I'm putting my 2 weeks notice. I'm out of here,
Yep.
because you will kill lean culture. Because if I go to tell people we're going to make improvement, we're going to eliminate your position, and we're going to eliminate you, that ain't going to work. What we did instead, we did eliminate position. When I say eliminate, we cut those positions. They're no longer needed. Now we can do the job with smaller group. But the government at that time, and that's what I appreciate about the leadership in Grand Rapids, they found a different job for that person. In most cases, to be honest, they got promoted. Like there's a gentleman in fire department. He's now the chief of fire department. He went through lean journey. He learned lean. Super smart guy, and he cut his own job, but he got promoted. He kept getting promoted in developing his own staff. So that's one thing about government. So I want to clarify: government and government people are not an issue, but the process is to be blamed. Government has these outdated, and I worked in government for 14 and a half years. I know very well, and go through an MLC and organize these events. I work with federal and state people, and those inefficient processes need to be eliminated and improved. And I'm very excited if our federal government right now creates this Department of Efficiency, which I'm super excited about that. And they apply it properly, not just to go in and cut heads. Anybody can do that. You don't need efficiency department for that. You can just get a CEO and say, okay, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone, and you can cross it. No, no, no. We have to go smart and get in and see what are the problems we have. What inefficient process do we have? Let's do some surveys with people that do our services, like we did in City of Grand Rapids. When Becky Joe created an awesome website for 311 and for City of Grand Rapids with her team, she did a survey. She had people, after she did improve her website, I think she paid residents of City of Grand Rapids, it was a paid position, to test the website to see what's wrong with it, what they didn't like it. That's lean. How can we speed up? Or, for example, I work with a team. I was teaching a team how to do value stream mapping in A3, I believe, value stream mapping in A3, and we improved the tap permit process. It used to take weeks, 4 to 6 weeks till you get the permit to connect to the city water system, because we had inefficient process. What did we do? We eliminated. We found out when we had our camera, I literally, I kid you not, had a camcorder, and I would camcorder follow these ladies. They were doing these tap permits in each apartment, and then I showed them in the conference room, look how much waste. Why are you entering customer information? You entering and you entering into different databases. Can we consolidate? The AT guy says, Ellen, give me till Monday, I'll have it done. And then they said, well, we do this because we need to report and I have to export in Excel. I said, sir, can you make a report? What time would you like? I like 8 a.m. Automated report. She said, wow, this is a miracle. Simple things. If you look at it, it's very simple. It's not a rocket science. And that's why I'm very excited about our federal government thinking, being more efficient and find efficiency in our government. And I hope truly that they will apply lean philosophy, not the old school, old management, just like, and then the next government is going to come in, it's going to make worse. And the next, whoever the next government is, they're going to say, oh my God, we're struggling. And that's what happened. If you look at the previous administration, do some research on this right now. Doesn't matter, Democrats or Republicans, they all have tried this. already, Democrats and Republicans, but they failed. Why? Because they didn't apply lean philosophy. They applied the old management slash, and then I look good. Look at my budgets. I look good while I'm in the seat. After I go to the seat, and the next guy or gal comes in, they look bad. It's, oh my God, we can't get the services done. Hire. What's the solution? Hire. And we need to stop. At least here in the United States, we're smart enough. Very good country. We need to stop wasting our own money. That's my money, your money. Let's stop our wasting our money and help our people. And I truly always, when I spoke at conferences or when I spoke at the MLC events, I always said, I have a dream. One day our government's going to wake up. And if you follow me on LinkedIn, in my posts, sometimes I mention, I wish somebody in government will hire some of us. So I swear to God, I'll keep my job at Gamma Academy. I'll volunteer some time just to help them. Because if I help my government, I'm helping my own people. So I'm glad that this is happening, and I hope they head in the right direction.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good opportunity, and I just hope that they're looking at it the same way in a people first and respect for people approach. And there is, I'm sure, a lot of opportunity. It's going to take a little longer than just going in and cutting, but that's going to lead to maybe long-term success, which is always the
Mhm,
goal. It's
mhm,
not for short-term gain and actually worse conditions later, and the taxpayers suffer with bad services or inadequate resources in the right areas. So yeah, I'm hoping too that this is approached in a lean way and not a old traditional
mhm.
way. And I think
Okay.
we have a
Yeah, I
lot of
agree.
examples of other states, cities that have done this
Mhm,
beyond Grand
mhm.
Rapids. So I
Yes.
think there's enough examples from across the country that can support
Mhm,
this kind of effort and say, no, this is the right way to do it. We've tried this in our area, our state, and it didn't work until we did this, you
mhm.
know, I guess newer approach, but a more lean, more respectful approach.
100% agree with you.
Yeah. So, oh yeah, hopefully that's taken into consideration going forward.
Yes, and
Um,
we have to talk about,
yeah.
so Leo podcast, for example, as I mentioned to you earlier, I really not big, I love podcasts, listening. I don't want to be on podcasts. I personally don't like being podcasts, but I love listening. I listen podcasts almost daily. That's on my
Yeah.
phone. I love to listen to these podcasts. But we need to talk about it. Like you and I right now speaking, somebody hopefully from government will hear this conversation and say, let me explore a little bit more of what these guys are talking about.
I think that'd be great. Yeah. You also mentioned nonprofit volunteering and you having some nonprofits come to the MLC conference.
Hmm.
And I know there's been some good organizations. I've seen and heard examples in the state of Michigan with nonprofits applying lean, and even I think Oakland University has some initiatives with students to connect them with nonprofits through James Womack Foundation or Scholarship Fund,
Hmm.
plus other organizations just volunteering with their nonprofit partners. There's a lot of lean
Hmm.
companies in Michigan. So
Hmm.
can you share some of examples or experiences you've had with working with nonprofits? It's a little different than
Yes,
government, but some similarities, I'm sure.
very similar. Yes, I agree. Um, so I'll give you some examples quickly. One example is I helped establish West Michigan Community Relief Organization. We registered as a 501c at that time. And our goal was to help the refugees coming into City Grand Rapids. Refugees would come from different parts of the country, from South America, from Middle East and other countries. And government gives them a payment for apartment, to buy some food and stuff like that, groceries. But the government really didn't provide like furniture and clothing to them. And we found a need. So there was a need. And then a group of us in Grand Rapids said, hey, let's my wife and I have done this through Facebook and all that. So there was not officially anything, just among our network. And then there was another lady who reached out to us and said, hey, do you want to join? And then we joined with her, same thing through Facebook. And then we established with the community that we lived in this nonprofit organization called West Michigan Community Relief. So today I'm in Texas here. We don't have a building officially there, but we still help. People text me and say, hey, Ellen, I have furniture to donate. Can you find out who needs it? And I tell my wife, she gets with that lady. That lady lives in Florida. And she finds the address within 24 hours. I send back, I said, can you deliver? They say yes or no. If they can't, then I find a friend in Grand Rapids that can go and pick it up, and we make those arrangements. smaller scale. Back then, it was a big scale. We made it like a goodwill, but you don't pay anything. All these refugees would come into the rented facility that we had, a huge facility. We sorted all baby clothing, adults, diapers, toiletries. All that was like a store. And these individuals would come, we would unlock it. They would pick what they want. And some people, most people were not able to travel. Then they tell us what age, what they need, and we would package these boxes and deliver to their homes. So that's one example. The other example is product solidarity. My wife and her friend Christian in City of Grand Rapids started that. I was just coaching, mentoring my wife. They started that, and basically what that is, making little bags for homeless population. Instead of giving them money, we didn't give money. We encourage people give us the money, or not even give us the money. There's an Amazon, not that there's an Amazon, but here's an Amazon wish list. What we need right now is winter's coming in Michigan. Let's get some gloves. Let's get some foot and hand warmers. Let's get toothbrushes and all that. And then we would package that in my house or Christian's house, and her family would package it. We would package it and load our cars and go in Grand Rapids downtown and give to the homeless population and keep it in our cars. Whenever we see someone, hey, the beggar ask for money, we'll give them that. So that's one organization. The other one was, and I'm very passionate about that one because we made a great improvement. For years, we wanted to, a certain time of the year, we wanted to package goods. So we collected money from the community in Grand Rapids, and we either got the cash from them or they gave us like cans. We said, we need bean cans, we need green, whatever we needed. We told them, we need wheat, we need this and that. And they would bring it to my house and in the garage. So I turned my I had a 3-stall garage, but 2-stall garage was like a warehouse. People would bring that to me. I would buy Home Depot or Lowe's boxes, medium size or large size, and then we would set it down and we would package that and deliver it to the people that were needy. And we had a list. I mean, I've been doing this for many years in Grand Rapids. People didn't know me from Grand Rapids. My community back then, they know. I've been building that network. So we had many addresses that we know they're needy people, people that really have a hard time. Those are single mothers with a bunch of kids, or dad and mom came from the war zone and dad got injured or something like that, can't work. And mom has like 7 kids. There's no way she can work. So those are the people that we try to help. One of the things I want to mention about that particular case, we did very well, but delivering took us 2 days, a weekend. So I had to always find a lot of volunteers to deliver these boxes. So I said, hey, I'm a lean guy. I need to find a better way. Me and my wife sitting in the living room and said, I am inefficient. Alen Ganic is inefficient. Yes, my heart is there. Everybody's heart is there. We don't run a good operation. So to give you a short story, I started researching. How can I deliver faster? Because I would send a person to deliver here and then other part of the city and then go back here and here and here. So they don't know, I can only deliver like 4 addresses. I'm tired. I've been driving for 8 hours today, just 4 or 5 boxes. So to make the long story short, what I found out, MapQuest. I don't know if it still exists, but back then there was a MapQuest, and you enter all 25, 30 addresses that you're going to deliver and say, find me best routes. And then MapQuest just spits out from Alen, from your home, first stop should be here, 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 here. So then what I did, I started printing out those maps and highlighting for individuals. I said, you're going to take to 5 addresses, here's your. My son's going to come help you to deliver those boxes you really heavy. So 2 people, I teamed them up. I said, bring my son back when you're done. And then this group. So I had a bunch of like 20, 30 volunteers. 4 hours. Everything was delivered. I couldn't believe it. It was like, I think it was summer or spring. Me and my wife setting because I had to be there like a call center. I'm in my front yard and I have a table, my picnic table there. My wife is there with a tea and all that. We're talking about, and we're constantly on the phone. What's up? I can't find it. Where's the address? Can you call it? And so we were on the phones. In 4 hours, we delivered. What took us 2 days, we delivered. So this is kind of to help the nonprofit organization, and a couple of examples.
How did you see the difference in working with government and the nonprofits? Was it very similar, or is there different challenges there?
There are different challenges. And here's the difference between government and nonprofit. Most nonprofit are communities, religious institutes. How do they operate? With volunteers. So I tell everybody when I teach now, people lean, and they say, Alen, we really want to learn lean. I say, you want to learn lean? Okay, volunteer. I need you to volunteer somewhere at your church or somewhere else. Volunteer, and I want you to become a leader in that organization where you volunteer, but not by asking to be a leader, them promoting you. And then you're going to learn lean. Why? Learning governments, people still get paid. They still said, like I used to teach people and say, "Hey, I'm going to teach you lean." I said, "I have no idea what you're talking about." I said, "Well, we're going to talk about five." He said, "I still used to speak gibberish with me, but I have 7 hours and 30 minutes left on the payroll, so you got me till 3 o'clock. So I'll listen to you. I'm paid. I'd rather be here than in the booth." I said, "Okay, cool." So that's government, right? Uh, um, Nonprofit, most cases, volunteers. So you have to have a different tactic. You have to have different strategy plans. You have to have plan A, B, and C. What if 30 people don't show up? Yeah, my plan was to have 30 volunteers to show up to do these deliveries. What if I end up with 15? People just call. I'm sick. I have a sick kid, whatever. They have excuses. That's fine. They're not very dedicated to. Sometimes people like to volunteer, raise their hand. Who's going to do this? Yay! I have 50. Guess what? I only end up with 3 people showing up when the event really happens, and everybody else later has an excuse. So that's the difference between government volunteering. You have to have a different thought process and more strategy than just one.
Yeah, I think back to one experience, and that was the solution was what is the configuration for this processing area based on how many people showed up. Yeah, and so you had to build these. All right, here's if 3 people show up, and if 5 people, and 8 people, and here's how
Mhm,
you can configure it. But you can hope for a certain show up rate, or you can start to collect data
mhm,
to know that you're going to get 30% of the
mhm,
signups or 50%. The process have to be more robust and more flexible to account for
mhm.
what actually happens.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you, Alan. This is really good examples, really detailed. I think there's a lot of application in these sectors that, and a lot of good examples already that have happened. So I'm excited that the momentum continues, and hopefully people can hear your lessons. We'll connect up all the YouTube videos you mentioned. I heard about you through the Gemba Academy podcast, so we'll link to that
Mhm.
episode so people can learn more as well. Um, how can people reach out to you or connect with you? I know we connected through LinkedIn. Is that the best way?
Mhm.
Or
It is, yeah. I network. I do a lot of networks, so I'm a big in networking. LinkedIn is the best way. So Alen Ganic, my name is spelled Alen, last name Ganic, Ganic. You will find me there, and the best way to get a hold of me is through LinkedIn.
and we have that in common is we have strange spellings to kind of standard names in the US. So
Yeah,
there's probably not many other ALEN. So that's how
not
it will be
many,
easy to
no.
find. Well, thank you so much for being a guest and sharing your knowledge and experience. Good luck in your continued ventures, and thanks for all the work you've done.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you for having me. It was a pleasure talking to you.